we generally point to this as our stomach, it is right here, right underneath our rib cage. That's where our stomach sits. So if you have problems with you down here, it's not your stomach. It's right here. Huh?
What is this part?
We call, in general, layman, meaning the common word that everybody normally uses, we call this the stomach, but this is technically called the abdomen. The abdomen. The abdomen contains everything inside. So your abdomen holds your stomach and your intestine and your colon. So we're going to go through each of the different parts right now, okay? So these are the organs of the digestive system. So your digestive system actually starts with your mouth. So your mouth is the beginning. Anywhere where food can travel is going to be your digestive system. So it starts with your mouth. It goes down your esophagus. Sometimes when you drink hot liquid or really cold liquid, you can feel it go down. That's the feeling of it going down your esophagus. Then it sits in your stomach for, on average, about 2 to 3 hours. And your stomach has your liver as part of your GI tract and your gallbladder as part of your GI tract. Those are connected to your duodenum, which is connected to your stomach. Those help you to digest your food. Specifically, the gallbladder and the liver help to digest fats. The pancreas helps to digest proteins. It's connected to your duodenum as well. And then your duodenum is connected to all this intestine in here. That's called your small intestine. Your small intestine is connected to your large intestine. Your large intestine sucks up all the water pretty much so you can stay hydrated, and then you poop everything else out. One way.
Ooh.
This is a condition called ulcerative colitis. So,
Called ulcer?
ulcerative colitis.
Oh.
We'll kind of go into that later on.
Okay.
So this is a close-up view. Let me see if I back up a little bit of what what the intestines look like. I'm holding up the colon right here, and I'm separating some of the colon attachments because the colon's going to come out. This is the side of the person's abdominal wall, so I'm poking inside out, poking at their abdominal wall. The ureter is going to be down here. The ureter is connected to your kidney, helps you urinate. Or there it is right there, I'm pinching it. Another view where you can see large intestine. I'm actually taking right here one of the vessels to the large intestine, which we're going to talk about in a second. Each of your intestine has a specific blood supply, and I'm dissecting out one of the arteries to that blood supply, which I'll take. That's how your intestines look in real life. In general, the GI tract is divided into 3 categories: the foregut, the midgut, and the hindgut. And we're going to go into details about that. But it can also be divided into what we call the large and small intestine, which I will kind of use some of these words interchangeably, and upper and lower GI. The upper GI is going to be your mouth, your esophagus, and the stomach and duodenum. The lower GI is going to be your small and large intestine. So let's go to the foregut. The foregut is your mouth, your esophagus, your stomach, and then this little C loop called the duodenum. And off of the duodenum, like I said earlier, the liver is attached to the duodenum, and the gallbladder is attached to the duodenum, and also the pancreas, which is underneath, right about here, is also attached to the duodenum. So they're included in the GI organs. So when you go to the doctor, if you have some kind of upper GI issue, they might have you drink some contrast. And if you drink the contrast and took a picture of it, this is what it would look like, what your upper GI would look like. This is your esophagus. It kind of narrows a bit right here, and then Your stomach holds most of it. This is the transition from the stomach to the duodenum. And again, you see this C loop. That's the duodenum. It's a good example of the duodenum. This is where your small intestine starts. So this is a completely normal x-ray of somebody who's just taken some contrast. And just to point out, it's supposed to be narrow right here because we don't want food to go back up. So some people who have it a little wider right here might experience something called reflux. So this is a CT scan showing the other organs. CT scan is better for looking at solid organs such as the liver and the gallbladder. So here's the liver. Cut. Imagine if you took a big knife and cut me in half and then held me like that. That's what you're looking at. So this is the right side of the body and this is the left. It's kind of, images are always flipped when you look at them. Just to keep it's systematic so communication between the doctors isn't confused. So this is the right side, the left side. So your liver's on the right side, right here underneath this rib cage. So we said the stomach was in the middle, the liver is going to be on your right side. Okay, so this is actually part of the person's stomach on the left, kind of in the center on the left. This is the gallbladder. Actually, this gallbladder is a little inflamed. And then this is the liver. Here is the pancreas. Remember I said we couldn't see it before because it was sitting underneath all the other structures? Pancreas sits underneath everything pretty much. Some of the other structures that are not part of the GI tract that are here on this picture are your kidneys. And these are both healthy kidneys, one right here and one right here, and the spleen. And they're not part of the GI tract because they don't connect to any of your intestine. So these are not considered GI organs. And then you have the blood supply, which we're going to go into brief detail later, which is right here. This is your aorta. It's pretty big, about that big in an adult. And it gives off, this artery is the superior mesenteric artery, which gives off the blood supply to the midgut. So this is the midgut. The midgut contains the small bowel, the cecum, and the transverse colon. So cecum in Latin means sac, pretty much. So the sac-like portion of the colon. This is the cecum. The transverse, and in anatomy, the terms are very easy. I mean, if it's on the right, we call it the right colon. On the left, we call it the left colon. If it's going across, what is that? Transverse. So it's transverse colon. So we simplify things to the best of our ability. So cecum, this is the right or the ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, or the left colon, sigmoid colon. But the midgut stops about here. So it contains all this and it goes backwards and contains all of your small bowel. So if we took an x-ray of somebody drinking that same contrast and we looked at their midgut, this is what we would see. A lot of intestine. Actually, this contrast has gone through their entire intestine, and this is that cecum. You can kind of see the outline. It's a little lighter gray right here. So that is all of the midgut. In women, the cecum is about 22 feet. In men, it's a little longer, 23 feet. More petite people have smaller bowel, larger people have longer bowel. So 22 feet is about the size of a big moving truck, if you can imagine. If I were to take your intestine out, an adult, and children it's probably smaller, take your intestine out and stretched it out, it would be the size, the length of a moving truck. Your small bowel. So from about that wall to about right here. It's pretty long. A lot of intestine. If we were to cut the small bowel up in the microscope, we can see that it has a lot of what we call surface area. And this allows for the food to get in between here and be absorbed. And these little cells right here are different kind of inflammatory cells that help fight off infection, and you have your blood vessels deep down lower inside. This is what your intestine looks like under the microscope. So the hindgut, finally, is the last part of your intestine. That's what I specifically work on. Pretty much your transverse colon, the left or the descending colon, this is technically your sigmoid, and then your rectum and your anus. That's all part of your large intestines. So this is another view, and it pretty much, and most people, sits in your belly just like this. As you can see, this is a picture slightly abnormal with this lesion right here, but the rest of it's pretty normal. How it kind of just outlines your abdomen. Your intestine is about 5 feet. So when I take out somebody's intestine in that large intestine, I hold it, it would be from like here to the ground. It's pretty large too. It's heavy also.
So if the small intestine is 22, 23 feet, and the large intestine is 5 feet, so how much intestines do you have, both of them combined? How much? How many feet? 27, 28 feet of intestine.
Yeah.
That's a lot of intestine. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I had to
so-
put some math in there too.
That's all right. So it's pretty compact, and things. It just has muscles that and I didn't even go into that. That kind of just like squeeze it along, literally, until it gets to where it needs to go out your body. And you can see some of these are contractions right here. It's actually contracting probably right. This is probably more contracting. So as a colorectal surgeon, I deal specifically with the colon, the rectum, and the anus. And I deal with colon cancer, rectal cancer, anal cancer, hemorrhoids, constipation, diarrhea, colitis, any kind of the itises that we talked about, just dealing with the these 3 parts of the colon. I work with gastroenterologists. Gastroenterologists are people who also work with the GI tract, but they work with the foregut and the midgut as well, and they do more of the medical management, whereas I venture off and do more of the surgical management. So both GI, gastroenterologists, and colorectal surgeons do colonoscopies, but only colorectal surgeons do surgery. And we'll go through what laparoscopic surgery is and what open surgery is just briefly. So a colonoscopy, which everybody should get, so remind your parents if they're over the age of 50 or 40, if it runs in the family, is this big, long, this is actually a camera. And it's about, how long is the colon? Colon is, that small intestine, 5 feet. This only looks like a colon, so that camera is about this long when I hold it up to me, because I'm a little over 5 feet, so it's from here to the floor. It's a pretty long camera. And you take that camera, and I know it sounds nasty, but it's important. You insert it through the bottom, and you kind of go backwards, looking at the surfaces of the inside of the colon. So the person's laying down on their side, there's a TV right here, and we're just manipulating that camera till we get to the end. So this is what the inside looks like. So reason why colon and rectal cancer is pretty preventable is because something like this that could potentially turn into a cancer can be seen on colonoscopy. And we, take it out and biopsy it and look at it under a microscope and see if it has any cancer cells. What
causes polyps?
What causes polyps? Again, there's no one thing that can point to it. Your diet, they say, anybody that has high fat, low fiber diet or at higher risk. Smoking causes a lot of cancers in your body. So smoking is a risk factor, not necessarily a cause. Just because with smoking, all these little vessels are damage. So smoking not only causes lung cancer, but it also causes pancreatic cancer, and it's a risk factor for stomach cancer. It's also a risk factor for colon cancer.
That picture right there, what's the yellow stuff?
Well, this is mucus, but we have you take a bowel prep, and it turns your normally thick stool into a more thin stool, and it's yellow because that bile from your liver that was connected all the way up bile is like a greenish color. When you dilute it out, it turns yellow. So this is a sign that the liver system is working. So the fact that it's yellow is pretty good, but it's thin like that because of what they have to drink to clean it out. Because imagine trying to do this with a lot of stool sitting in there. We couldn't see anything. It would look like poop, like all the way around. So, I mean, a lot of people think that colorectal surgeons sit around and play with poop all day, but we really don't. We have you clean it out, and then we'll touch you, right? So, yeah, this is just mucus after the stool has been cleaned out. So this is what a colon cancer could look like. So something could go from this, and if it's not noted or picked up, or if you don't get your colonoscopy, it grows, it divides, and eventually it undergoes a series of changes which causes it to be a cancer cell, which then replicates exponentially into this. So this, easily preventable, taken out. This probably will need surgery. So that's why get your colonoscopies when you get older. Tell your parents to get your colonoscopies because you see how it could be preventable. So this little caption says, this polyp has a 10% of chance of becoming cancerous. And over time, actually that percentage starts to double if you leave it there long enough.
How long does it take for it to?
10 years.
10 years?
Yeah, from a polyp to go to a cancer, about 10 years. So if we see a polyp, if we don't see any polyps, we tell you to come back in 10 years. So get your colonoscopy at 50, we don't see anything. At 60, we check again because that's enough time for a polyp to develop. If we see a polyp, then depending on what kind of polyp it is, we'll tell you to come back in 3 years because that means you're at risk for having other polyps. So it takes 10 years for a polyp to go to cancer normally.